Boom, what's happening YouTube fam? In today's video, we actually have a chopped up clip from a full length podcast interview that I did with an amazing lady named Edwina Story. Now, Edwina is actually a journalist and has a pretty good understanding of some of the social issues that exist in culture and society. However, more importantly, she's a sister of a brother who's struggled with meth addiction for so many years. And in today's clip, we just wanted to highlight some of the ridiculous and tough challenges that family go through when they're trying to support their loved one and get them into services and treatment. Thankfully, this is a good news story and her brother is doing really well. But again, we wanted to put together this clip to highlight what so many people struggle with for so many years, and basically have to pitch their case to try and get their loved one help, which is just insane. So to help us make some noise with this clip and get some change happening, if you relate to this and you're a family member or you're someone experiencing addictive patterns, we would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments. And we would also love if you could like and subscribe our videos. It helps us to hack the algorithms and reach more people, hopefully getting them some help. So enjoy today's video and tell us if you relate. Peace.
Shall I tell the whole story?
Yeah. Shoot.
Okay. So I was up in the Sunshine Coast being a journalist and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was working on a Saturday news shift. And I got a call from my little brother.
Yeah.
And our relationship, because of his struggles with substance abuse, our relationship had waned.
Yeah.
I think it had been through so many twists and turns, and over the last couple of years I had been trying really hard to get him into rehab. So he'd been doing ice from when he was, I think, 17, but he would have to correct me. And then he'd been to a couple of rehabs before, one which was funded, in large part by Hillsong, which I have many thoughts about. And then last year during the pandemic, the year before that in 2018, I was trying to get him into rehab because, as you know, he would have these windows of okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get him in, but then the wait list was too long, and it would always the window of opportunity would pass before he was able to get a bed.
Yeah.
And so that happened in 2018 and 2019. And in 2020, as the pandemic was just cramping down on the world, and he rocked up on my doorstep after having a hard time kind of living out of his car. It was April, so everything was burning down. And I was like, now is the perfect time to go to rehab. There's nothing else to do. Everything's turning to fire. So now's a great time. And unfortunately, I just couldn't get him in the wait list. And at that time, from memory, the rehab clinics were sending people off to different clinics and locking down completely, and there was just no way to get anyone in.
Yeah, and I think, here in Victoria, I'm pretty sure the same in New South Wales and all over the country as well. There were all the rehabs, which just made it so fucked up, even worse than it normally is. They were doing half capacity to fit in with COVID stuff and whatever. So yeah, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, and then so, but that kind of window of opportunity passed, and then a whole bunch of unusual life circumstances occurred where I ended up in Queensland. I had to move from Sydney, and then after that last stint of trying to get him in, we go through pockets of not really talking for a long time. Because often I would find he was just calling in for money, really. Because he needed help. And sometimes I had the capacity for that, and other times I didn't. And but then I'm on this Saturday news shift, and I'm making audio documentaries and shit, and then I got this call from him, and I declined it because I was like, I don't have time for this at the moment, I'm on deadlines. And then he called again, and I answered it, and he said, Edwina, I've got HIV. And
wow. Just like straight off the bat like that.
Yeah. And then kind of broke down as you would. And he was in this, I could hear he was in just a hospital bed and there was people around him. He didn't have any privacy. And I was just like, it's okay, I'll come and get you, it'll be fine, fuck. And he was in the Gold Coast, and so that's like 2 hours away. And then so I just called my boss and I was like, I can't finish any deadlines, this has happened. And I got in the car and drove to the Gold Coast to get him.
Wow. And how would you describe like emotionally at that time? Like what's that like on the other end of the phone as a family member, just hearing that? I couldn't imagine.
I was distraught. Yeah, it was scary because you hear about HIV, but I didn't know, and I knew it was an autoimmune issue, but I didn't know. I was like, but what actually is it? Like, what the fuck happens? Like, I know you're okay now, but what does it really mean? How long does it last? Like, what's the deal? And so I called my partner, Claire, who's a scientist, and I was like, I need you to Google HIV and blood tests and all this kind of stuff. And Claire was reading me articles as I was just like hammering it down this motorway to go and get him. And yeah, it was kind of scary because it was like, it wasn't good news. And Claire had to kind of break it to me and be like, well, yeah, it's not great, but it could be okay.
Yeah.
So then I went and collected him. And then it just felt like this strange brother-sister relationship where it was like, so how do you think you got this? And what do we do next? And I was just like, I feel like we need to go home to mum and dad. Like, I feel like that's what you should do right now. Luckily, it was in a window when the border between Queensland and New South Wales was open.
Oh, could you imagine?
Oh my God, yeah. But there was a 1 in 60 year rain event, so the Pacific Highway closed down. It was a fucking nightmare. What would usually take 12 hours to get to Sydney took 32. But also I called so many people for help. I called friends who worked in HIV taboo research. I called my partner called their sister who called someone else to find out like where you go, because when my brother and I first found out, I sat down on the Sunday morning after we had this night driving back from the Gold Coast, because I did 2 hours there, got him, and the 2 hours back. And as this like looming weather event was building up, and then we sat down outside on the Sunday and it's like, okay, helplines, who are we going to call? And we tried calling, I called ACON, I called Queensland Health, I called so many helplines, and they all just looped around in this like, the office hours are currently not in operation, please call this other hotline. And then it turned out there was this one clinic in Darlinghurst, and called the Kirkton Road Centre, which is a lifesaver. It was amazing. Awesome. And we just belted it from Queensland to Darlinghurst.
What was your experience with the treatment centres, just as a family member engaging with it? And you mentioned even when, which is not directly related to alcohol and drug treatment, but still in that sort of whole health space, you're calling all the different hotlines and stuff like that. Is it just like a pretty hopeless thing when you're ringing around and trying to get help?
Yeah, well, I think because of this issue with so many people needing support and so few resources and so few, when it comes down to it, just beds available, it's kind of like hitting a brick wall over and over again. And I had one moment, which is in this podcast episode, where I was, and I also have videos because I was going to make a short kind of doco on about how families deal with drug addiction.
That would be amazing.
It became, but I was going to do this in last year in the pandemic, but it just, it just got too personal, and it just got too hard to do, and I had to back down from it. But I feel, I had this one moment when I was pitching to this caseworker, And because he said to me, why should I let your brother in over anyone else? Like, there are so many people waiting to get into a bed. If he's been through rehab before, why should he be the one who gets it over someone else who hasn't had the opportunity before? Which is a valid point. But I had to just realize, like, well, he's just been diagnosed with HIV. This is like a hugely personally impactful diagnosis. He needs medical support and he needs psychological support, and this is potentially a more valuable window to capitalize on than any other that he's had.
Yeah. And what response did you get?
It was really nice. The guy was like, it disarmed him, and he was like, well, he's lucky to have you. And that was really nice. But he's like, but also he has to be the one to call. So if he calls, then and it's, I think that's hard when it comes to family members with people that they love who are struggling with addiction, is you're trying to do everything that you can to help them, and you want to do what you know they can't. Like, I don't think my brother would have had the capacity to be able to pitch like that at the time and be like, this has happened and that's happened and this is why it's worth doing. But then even though your family members have, maybe they have more of the financial capacity to be able to support, but sometimes it's just like the system won't allow it.
Yeah. And can I ask, was that through like a public service, or was that like
that was private?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even get a bed in a private service.
Yeah. And I've called so many. I'm like, in 2018, I must have called 20. And just like ringing around and all over Australia. And it's just...
Hey guys, if you like this video, we would love it if you smash the subscribe button. And also, we've just released a brand new ebook, The 11 Definitive Steps to Get Recovery Without Going to Rehab. If that sounds of interest to you and you're looking for some answers and solutions, something different, we have a very special offer on the book, plus some awesome bonuses for a very limited time only. So smash the subscribe button and check out the link below if the book is of interest to you. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.